Question for Destiny, and this comes from an innocent place where I genuinely don't understand. Voter ID laws are said to be like very, very negative towards poor people and black people, right? Yet, my area had the projects, and it seemed like poor people and black people I knew had IDs. Why is it that when you request an ID, it's so slanted towards like making black people unable to vote?
So there are tons of different angles for this. For when you deal with voter ID. Mm-hmm. So to address that angle specifically, it's just kind of like a numbers game. When people do studies on who voter ID would impact, if you're like a middle class or upper class person, it's not even a question of whether or not you can get an ID. It's a very obvious thing. It's like nobody thinks twice about it. However, depending on your lower class status, getting to a certain area to get an ID renewed, getting to a certain area to actually get a driver's license, even having a car and needing a driver's license, these things become more questionable. Now, can the majority of poor people get IDs? Probably, most likely. The majority of people I know, you need to show one to get a job, or at least a birth certificate, to get a job in the United States, to be employed and to fill out a W-4 and all that. However, the fact is that when you start requiring certain types of IDs, it does disproportionately impact certain groups of people, and this is just known. I mean, I got quotes and articles and everything. Fraga and Miller were two researchers found that black voters constitute 11.4% of those voting in Texas in 2016 with ID, but 16.1% of those voting without ID, which shows clear evidence of a disparate racial impact. Likewise, Latino voters made up 19.8% of those voting with an ID, but 20.7% of voters without an ID.
Was that 19 and 20?
Yeah, it was 19.8 and then 20.7% of those voting without ID. So basically showing that there's like an overrepresentation. For black people, it was really bad. And then for Latino people, not as bad, but still kind of bad, especially when the election results get really close. But basically, it's just that any time you start talking about getting these voter ID laws in place, you have to acknowledge that they're going to have a bad impact on certain groups of people. It's just borne out in the data.
Why don't they just make it so IDs are free and it's subsidized?
So that is a great idea. Now, you might still be able to find, can homeless people get IDs? You could probably find solutions for this.
Do we want the homeless voting?
Should homeless be voting?
The thing is that nobody ever seems to want to do that, which is where we get into the other issue of why do people want voter IDs? And this takes us to states like North Carolina. So if somebody were to propose, let's do a national voter ID program and everybody gets a free ID mailed to them, well, you're going to have to raise taxes to allocate a budget for that, which I don't know how people feel, but that's going to have to be something that's going to be done. And there might be another.
That would be that much.
Maybe. I mean, we don't give that much.
How much is it to buy an ID? I don't even remember when it was to buy my first one. And then,
I mean, it really depends on.
Is like nothing.
You want a fake
yeah,
one
it
or a
depends
real
on it depends on the type of ID you're talking about. But a lot of these are built into other departments already, like the DMV, for instance, right? Already has a budget allocated for that for the IDs and everything. Another problem, though, is that when you look at all of this, there's two huge things that are going on. Three huge things. One is that voting is arguably your most important constitutional right. So if we're going to put up any roadblock in front of it, we need to have a really good reason for doing so. And any roadblock is a roadblock, however small. So the problem is it seems like these ideas like voter fraud has never really been demonstrated ever. We just don't see it happening. Even though conservatives claim it happens all the time, and Trump himself tweeted it did, we just don't see that happening. And then when we see conservatives actually try to
implement... Happened in North Carolina?
Well, that was election fraud. That wasn't voter fraud. That was people destroying ballots. It didn't have to do with people faking their ballots. So even if those people had or didn't have IDs, yeah, sure.
By the way, in my state, they're free. A voter ID card is free.
Sure.
I think my state is the corruption capital of America. And
nice. I don't know. DC probably wins.
It's hard to beat North Carolina.
That's where all of those people are.
Our state level stuff is next level. Anyway.
Did you see that? Like some infographic the other week came out and it was like all the richest counties in America. And it was like exactly all the ones surrounding DC. Like all of those, I don't know. That was surprising.
Yeah.
Not really though. Because of course they're fucking loaded. Yeah, I see your point, like with the roadblock thing with rights, but in most Western nations. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure most Western nations require ID. I mean, even Mexico requires ID to vote.
Wait,
it just seems like
well, but for a lot of those, they provide you
thing to need. Yeah, and it should be provided. Let's do something like it'll be a teeny little tax, and just have everybody mail an ID. Boom.
Like, imagine if your 1040 literally said like $17 ID tax. Everyone would go ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you say passing a little tax isn't a big deal, but like I see around here where they talk about raising the property taxes by like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. And when it comes to, and I'm even in a pretty wealthy district for funding our schools or whatever, people seem real mad. But maybe the tax would go off without a problem.
Yeah, it
but
seems
Republicans,
like both sides would like it.
I don't
though.
have any kids. I don't want to pay anymore.
yeah, it seems like people aren't generally suggesting these things. So when you look at like how things played out in North Carolina, when Republicans tried to implement voter ID, they went hardcore surgically targeting black people. They closed down certain voting polls that were predominantly used by black people. They made it so that absentee ballots were allowed to be mailed in 13 days earlier. They changed that to 7 days earlier. And it turns out that black people tended to vote earlier into the absentee period than later. They made it so that certain types of IDs, both expired and unexpired, were no longer allowed. And these were all ones that were specifically used by black people. It always seems very suspect with the way that people try to implement.
Expired and unexpired IDs.
There were certain types of IDs that were allowed to be used at polls that were state issued. Some you could use even if they were expired, some not. And they tried to get rid of all of the forms of IDs that were predominantly used by black people.
Closing the polls on Sundays, are you familiar with this? I guess one way that liberals were doing voter drives is they would literally have buses go to black churches, and after the I don't know I'm not a church person. After the show was over, they would just bust them all. They would just bust them all to the polls, and they would vote together. So what the Republicans did was close the polls on Sundays.
Yeah, so it's like when you see people try to enact it this way, it makes you think like, okay, well, what exactly are we trying to do here? When we haven't demonstrated any voter fraud, and in some of the cases where we try to enact these voter laws, we're like, it seems like we're just trying to keep poor people from voting. It's very suspect. Like it makes you wonder what people's motivations are. And then they always
both sides would like it though. Like the right wingers get their voter ID laws that they want, and the left wingers, like everybody gets their ID.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to propose like a tax to pay for it, and then maybe a new U.S. department, I don't know who would handle this. Maybe the Social Security Administration. I don't know, like who. If we would need like a whole new department to manage dealing with IDs.
My guess would be that if you secured the funding and you're like, all right, all of you people out there who want one of these, step forward. It would be like, no one, no one wants to vote. No one wants one of these cards.
How funny would that be if they're like, everybody gets a free ID in like 9 people?
Yeah.
Well, it was a big waste of money.
You know
but we
who
did
I
our
want to
best.
vote? I don't know if this is unpopular opinion. Felons. I feel like if
I
you,
100% agree. Yeah.
Do you? I don't know where Kyle and Taylor will lane on this, but
Probably depends on the kind of felon.
if you were to catch me, whatever, in the 90s, it was like 3 strikes, you're out. That sounds brilliant. I love that. If there's 3 violent crimes, just lock them up forever. And, going hard on criminals, being tough on crime was a really popular political position. And I thought it was the right idea. Now that all this time has passed and we've seen the impact of it, it's like, oh my gosh, you're saying that judges don't get to use their judgment? That there's just these sentencing guidelines that one of their violent offenses could be that freaking Mr. Deadmoth dude, and then he gets into a bar fight and then maybe has a real one, and it's like, that's it? Life over? Life over?
Or you get a drunk driving accident when you're a dumb 20-year-old and you shouldn't be, and it's really stupid, but you'd kill someone or whatever. Now you're 60, 50 years old, working and paying taxes, and you have no say.
So
what are crimes that you wouldn't want to allow them back? Like, I feel like if you're like a murderer or a rapist or some rich ass CEO who used his power to.
My mind is open for these crazy crimes we're coming up with, but in my head, it's like, if you're out of prison, right? I'm talking about, I said felons, but I really meant to say ex-cons.
Felons.
If you finished paying your debt to society and you're a murderer, then you probably spent 35 years paying that debt. So you can vote. If you're a, I don't know, ATM robber and you spent 2.5 years paying that debt, then that's right too. Whatever it takes for you to get out of prison, when you're done paying your debt to society, I don't know why you're not voting.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying, you're saying, well, you've done this horrible fucking crime. It's like, okay, well, it must not be that bad because they're out of jail now. Or I don't mean to say it must not be that bad, but again, if you did a really bad crime, you were probably in jail for a really long time, and now that you're out, we're not going to treat you like a prisoner for the rest of your life. Like, you're done. However I feel about the criminal justice system now, if you've served your time, that should be it. You're done. You get out, and now that you're paying taxes and shit, it's your society just as much as anybody else's. You should have a right to vote in it.
It is like people who sold weed
Destiny's so persuasive.
What did you say, Whittier? Even though Destiny was using real tools, he still won the debate for the lead thing. I saw that clip.
Oh yeah, I stand by that.
I saw
stand
that
by
clip.
that.
That's such a fucking
if
funny
you
way
had
look
to
at it,
if
thinking
you had
about
to
that.
reach deep into like grandfathers eating lead paint to justify
It's not
like
just eating lead paint. It's lead getting into the water. It's inhaling fumes of like lead that's
right.
dissolving. There's tons of different ways.
These
It's not
poor
just
people
eating.
had paint chips and their grandfather, not them and not their dads, but their grandparents ate paint chips because they taste sweet. And now you need to give the offspring of the offspring advantages to get into college. And our listeners listened to that and said, you know what? Destiny's right. I'm like, fuck,
Okay.
he's got a gift.
All right, we should end politics stuff soon though, because people are gonna want more funny shit. We've been doing
More
this
funny
for
shit.
long.
I can do this in 30 seconds, okay?
Okay.
Here's what happened, okay? Economists basically looked at, oh, wow, huge trend in murders decreasing. Oh, wow, huge trend in lead paint being used less. That's kind of interesting. He did a lot of digging on the data in the United States, and he found that there was like this perfect like 18 to 20 year correlation between amount of lead used in like gasolines and paints and shit versus like the crime rates. He's like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. This guy was an economist, not a sociologist, so this wasn't his area of expertise, but he suggested this. Nobody gave a fuck, and he's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So then what the guy did was he collected data from like 20 other countries that all at varying times had lessened their use of lead, and he found this exact same 20-year offset between violent crime and the amount of lead used in society, and it matched with every single other country. And he thought that that research was very interesting. Biologically, we know that if we introduce lead into people at early ages, it can cause more aggressive behavior, et cetera, et cetera. So the biological mechanism is understood. The correlation is very strong. I'm not saying it's the only reason people are aggressive. I'm just saying, like, it seemed like pretty convincing to me. There's tons of articles on it. It was you, fucking Taylor, I think, that said that he found something that debunked or disproved all of it. I hope
I saw
that
an
wasn't.
interesting thing, like and people were like, "Oh, it's just a fucking infographic," and I was like, "Well, there was an infographic, but there was an interesting like article behind it too, and it wasn't.
It
just
wasn't.
One
I
thing.
hope it wasn't from a website called Alternative Hopefully not.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, but like.
Oh yeah, I've been on there. They're the ones who set me straight on the Holocaust.
Oh yeah. But anyway, that's the argument that there was
You
a
wanna
high
open that bag
correlation.
of worms? I've got some knowledge to drop on you.
Basically, that it's possible that a lot of people exposed to lead at early ages could exhibit more. And like you see this in some places, like if you look at Flint, that's an extreme example. There's a lot of kids that are going to be mentally retarded for the rest of their fucking lives because of the lead that they were exposed to and consumed in water. This is like permanent brain damage shit. But yeah, that was the only. I'm not saying that excuses people from their actions or that's why everybody is the way they are. But that was something very, very compelling and interesting research to take a look into.
Well,
No, it's an interesting thing to look into. You know what? If the streaming thing ever doesn't work for you, you should go into auctioneering.
Okay.
Because I used to go with my grandpa to like bull auctioneers where they do that. Hey, I can't even imitate it. It's so fast, like screaming the weights and the prices. You go just as fast. You could, if you put your mind to it, you could be the fastest speaker this side of the side of the Mississippi
Ben
you're on.
Shapiro does a similar thing, and I don't know if I don't think it's intentional for either Ben Shapiro or Destiny, but as a listener, there's so much being thrown at you that you have less time to critically tear it apart between your own ears. It's just like, fact. You're 6 facts later. Fact 2 could have been totally invented. Yeah. Is that what Gish Gallop is? I always forget some of the other.
No, that absolutely is what Gish Gallop is. For the record, when I have conversations with people, the way that any argument works is you go premise, and then from those premises, logically, your conclusion follows. When I have conversations with people, I always tell them, if I say something and you disagree with it, stop me fucking immediately, and we can talk about it. Because I do agree that when somebody engages in that form of argumentation, where they're like, fact, conclusion, why am I wrong? You've already lost the argument. Like, it's over.
What you do on the other side, and I don't want to say it's dirty, but it's hard to debate against. Is you can ask questions like, oh, tell me more, prove this, prove that, prove deeper, prove something else, and it's almost a verbal denial of service attack. where like, you're on the other side, like, man, I don't really have a study for that, but I'm pretty confident that it's true, and it can be hard.
I try to be pretty chill on that too. Like, if you watch my conversation,
I feel like you tore apart Dick Masterson that way.
Well, okay, careful. Oh man, that's my big trigger. So like,
it's hilarious.
I always tell people, I'm not going to sit here and go source, because it's not reasonable to do. And if there's something that we disagree with, we can sit here and both look it up on the spot. We're on the fucking internet. We got Google today. It's not like back when I was a kid and I had to pull out one of the fucking Encyclopedia Britannicas to look up some fact. Like, if you're telling me something like tariffs, we tariff exports, like, okay, well, that should be pretty fucking easy to look up. We can do that right now. Like, I'll do stuff like that. In the debate with with Dick Masterson, I had specifically told him as well, like, I don't expect you to be able to source every fucking thing you said. The only thing I would hope is that if you bring up a topic, you're kind of well-versed in it, or you at least know what you're talking about. Because Dick Masterson was really mad, and I think he even said on the show, he's like, Destiny tried to corner me into some Trump shit. I didn't. That was a topic that he brought up. He said that I was a very disingenuous debater, and I asked him, okay, well, if I do this all the time, can you just give me one example of this? Like, where am I being disingenuous? I always ask people this, and I never get an answer. And he told me, well, when you grilled that one dude on the lawyer shit, and that lawyer guy was part of La Raza, that was totally disingenuous of you. And I was like, wait a second. No, I was right there. La Raza can mean a fuck ton of different things. The organization that people said that he belonged to isn't the one he did. And then Dick Master's like, oh, you're trying to drill down on facts again. I was like, well, you're the one that brought this up. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that clip.
Multiple run-ins, or was that the only time you and Dick were on a stream?
Oh, that was the only. I don't think we'll ever be on a stream together again.
No.
You don't like Dick?
What?
You don't like? I thought that while you guys disagreed.
I love Dick, and
Yeah.
that
Oh,
sounds pretty cool
Dick.
too.
You don't
I
like
think
Dick?
he's absolutely the most cancerous kind of fucking moron when it comes to political discourse on the internet. Absolutely, I fucking hate him. Totally, 100%.
He's fucking hilarious.
I enjoy
If
his
you ever
time.
if you ever want to do a show with me again, I'd love to do it just because I will shit on him the entire time. I fucking hate people like this. What I do and trying to have conversations with people, when there are people that literally fucking make shit up, it is so fucking frustrating to me. When I'm trying to have a reasonable conversation and somebody's like, well, what about this thing that didn't even happen? It's like, fuck me. Like, we're not even talking about reality. And Dick is totally that kind of guy. Oh, it drives me crazy.
Masterson is a great friend of the show. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like my
and
parents are fighting now.
Very funny. Your parents
He's
are funny.
I'm with you.
He's a funny
real
guy.
Scumbag.
I've
Get
watched
a
him in shit.
haircut.
He is a funny guy. I'll admit that. I'm not going to say that, like, I'm not going to be like, totally, Dick is the least funny. He's a funny guy for sure. But man, when he talks about politics, I think it's totally fucking dumb and it drives me fucking crazy. But yeah.
Well, we support dumb politics around here. This is a fact-free environment.
Should I be worried that that's why I'm dragged onto the show? Uh-oh, my.
I have a topic unless someone else. Actually, Taylor, you have...
Go for it. No, you go ahead.
All right, I'm trying to figure out what's right and wrong about this. It's just a tweet, but I did look into it afterwards, and it turns out that it's true. If people are on an audio-only version, artist in Chile sneaks into private university and burns tuition contracts. $500 million of student debt gone. So when I first read it, I was like, that has to be horseshit, right? Like, if you burn down my local bank, I don't have any debt, but
There's no electronic records of this.
It turns out that whatever organization was holding the debt, I don't know if it was the school or the bank or what have you, but it was bankrupt, right? So it was like in bankrupt, and then what happens with that is they like sell the debt from one place to another, and it was just in a phase where there weren't like off-site backups and whatever, and $500 million of student debt is really gone. People who owed it now just don't, because this guy went in there and burnt it.
The real question here, everybody's going to be like, oh, great. Meanwhile, there's someone holding the bag, right? And we don't know who that is. We don't know who the person left holding the bag is for $500 million. Maybe they were...
Probably the taxpayer.
Probably no. It doesn't sound.
I was
like
actually
this
guessing the
case.
shareholder.
It's a public university.
Some sort of an investment group or something like that.
It says
This seems
private
like
university in the tweet.
Well, it's going to depend on whether or not that debt had been sold off to a collection company or not. That's the real question. If it has been sold off,
collection company.
Yeah, if it's been sold off, then it's random collection companies. And what Woody was saying, I'm trying to find an article. I can't verify that what he said was true. But if you said that companies had gone bankrupt, so nobody knew who was holding the debt, then in that case, it was probably being held by some sort of collection company or like loan servicer or whatever.
Even let's say it's held by a collection company. I'm gonna guess it's ultimately owned by a bunch of shareholders, right? Like mom and pop doesn't buy $500 million worth of debt, right? It's not like it was just some like a particular random rich dude. I don't think. So this basically they took this concentration of debt and pushed it on to people who made an investment, and I feel like this is a wrong. I mean, I feel like an asshole, like, standing up for the rights of the shareholder, but one group earned it and one group didn't. One group.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You don't know who the victims are, right? Like it's easy to like on the surface of it, you see who the benefactors are. And those are everyday students, a bunch of them at $500 billion in Chile. How much does education cost in Chile, right?
That has to be 500 million people.
I mean, Chile is a pretty wealthy country for South America.
Yeah, I wouldn't say donkeys.
Hey, it's a shithole country, I'm pretty sure.
That's what Michael Scott said to the guy in the office. He's like, "What does medical school cost in your land? Like like probably like a donkey or something, right? And the guy's from India. He's like, no. I was chief surgeon. Michael's like, I'd have been chief of medicine. but yeah, on the surface you see these students clearly reap a really cool benefit. That's great for them. No matter what the case is, it's great for them. But maybe like somebody's retirement was sort of sunk into the investment group or the collection agency or whatever was holding this debt, and now they're in their late 70s and they can't afford to feed themselves because some guy burnt a bunch of papers somewhere. You don't know, right?
And the students signed up for it, right? The students signed up for it. They may have been too young to make this decision. I think that might be where your head is. But they did make that decision, whereas the other group was literally robbed.
I think the question here, the interesting question, or the real fundamental question here is this like an extortionary practice? That's really what's being asked. Because if we were to come to an agreement that would say that like student loans are evil and predatory and extortionary, then in that case we'd say, well, who the fuck cares if it got burned up then? They're all engaging in extortionary, predatory practices. Fuck them. Now, if we think that student loans are fair, that, you know, like you said, Woody, that people are making these decisions, there are multiple ways to procure financing for college, and you did agree to it, and now other innocent people are financing it, then we would say, well, this is fucking not something to be celebrated. You literally just stole $500 million from people, and it's fucking horrible.
Student loans are totally fair.
You know what he should have done? What this guy should have done if he was smart, Nate, is stolen that paper.
Yeah, and then sold it himself.
Oh, that would be cool. That would. Oh, fuck this guy. You're right. Yeah, that would have been way.
You're in class and some dude is bullying you, and you're like, "Look what I have here, motherfucker! You better fucking pay up next month. Open that Fed loan account, motherfucker, because your debt is back on track."
You could play it that way, or you could just sell it back to the. Look, I've got $500 million worth of debt that you guys can't call in. For $3 million, I could probably find it for you. You know, let's
This is like the Joker in The Dark Knight when he steals their money or whatever, and he's like, I want half of it back to give it like.
You want to know where I got all these tuition forms? I broke in there and stole them to be a maniac. If you bully me, you'll have to pay.
Yeah, this is definitely chaotic good. I think if you had to boil it down one of those categories, this is chaotic good. This is a guy who doesn't give a fuck. He's going in there and just burning it up.
Something that I do like about it, even though it's like kind of anarchism, is like what you were saying, like student loans are fair, like in a way, like you're signing it, you know what you're getting into, but the people being asked to get into these lifelong commitments, like American high schools, are you learning finance? Like, are you learning like your due diligence about controlling your finances and getting ahead in life and everything? Like, these kids have no fucking clue the implications of what they're signing.
Yeah,
like when they get $40,000, like, and then the freshman year they're spending money. You know how many people with student loans just blow it on booze and stupid things, and it's like then they're hemorrhaging that their Natty Light is costing them into their 30s.
I've known a lot of cam girls, and like their streaming name would be like student loans with 3 Z's, shit like that.
The thing that bothers me is that, like, if you haven't worked yet, money really is just a number to you. And people, in my experience, people that haven't worked, when they look at money, they view it in terms of possessions, and that's not a really good way to view money. So $30,000 to somebody, that might be a cool new car, but that's not really what money is, right? Once you've started working, you start to view money as an exchange of time. So $30,000 to an 18-year-old, might be a new car. $30,000 to a 25-year-old might be 6 months of work. And I feel like without having that perspective, it's really hard to say, like, do you want to take out a loan that you're going to have to pay back that's the equivalent of $100,000? Because if you ask a 25-year-old that, they're thinking, okay, this is like fucking 2 years of 100% of my wages. Like, this is an insane amount of money. And then to a kid, it's like, okay, $100,000. Yeah, I mean, like, that's some money, I guess. But they have like no fucking concept. Yeah, they have no fucking concept. And I'm intimately aware of this because people in the streaming world do this all the time. Where like anytime I get like a contract to do works now, like I get paid like $2,000 an hour to promote a fucking game. And it's like, okay, well, this is literally what I would make in like a fucking month carpet cleaning. This is an unbelievable amount of money to me. Yeah, I'll do these deals. Mm-hmm. Whereas other people that come out of high school sometimes or out of college and they get right into streaming video games, all of this money is just like whatever to them. These are people, that have been making six figures for years and don't have a dollar to their name because they spend it all. They've got no financial wherewithal. They have no clue what the money is worth. And that just that's the thing that bothers me. I'm not going to go forward and say we should get rid of all student loans and they're unethical, blah, blah, blah. But it really does bother me how much responsibility we ask an 18-year-old to take on financially.
And often
does it bother you that when they join up for the military?
Oh, yeah. And can't drink. Yeah.
Yeah, especially that when they can't drink.
They can drink on base.
On base?
Wait, an 18-year-old can?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that...
we looked that up.
Wait. Is it outside of the U.S.? Is that how it works? Or
No, let me double check on...
I
Google.
didn't know
right
this.
here. We can check it out.
Yeah, we talked about that before, but I thought we got fact-checked on that or something. I had it in my head that there's definitely somewhere where 18-year-olds can drink on base.
So looking at this, I just real quick Google. In the old days, anyone on active duty could consume alcohol on military installations regardless of the legal drinking age off base. But the new federal code, United States Code Title 10, Section 2683, requires military installation commanders to adopt the same drinking age as the state where the military base is located.
Yep, I'm finding the same thing. So it looks like I'm out of date. And overseas, 18, here, 21. Huh.
Yeah, you definitely want to serve in Europe, right? Get one of those nice bases over there where...
Even if you can, like, they're not letting them get, like, tanked and go out on the town or anything.
Oh, it's probably that fucking...
That's probably
Mormon
exactly
beer.
what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Okay, well then, all right. Well, I'm gonna join the military.
If I'm stationed in Germany, so
I can drink.
we're not going out responsibly drinking. That's not what's happening.
Do they let you smoke pot if you're like stationed in Amsterdam?
No, there's no way that happens.
Yeah,
no.
I for whatever, the paramotor community and the active duty army overlap some, and those guys do not smoke pot. Yeah, they're like they take that seriously. I guess they're tested. I made that part up, but
their lives are in their hands. That'd be like a race car driver. Like meanwhile, you go to something like paintball, and they're all stoned. Everybody's stoned.
It is the whole everything about drugs is so fucking weird to me that I go to California now, and it's still weird to me. And I will be on the street, and some dude will just be fucking smoking a blunt, like right fucking there. Cops are driving by, and he's smoking and everything. And all I'm thinking is like, if I were to go into a store and buy a beer and crack it up right here, I would get fucking fined for it. It's so fucking weird.
For destiny.
It would be great. It would be great.
All right, Trump is implicated now in 2 felonies.
Are you sure he tweeted he wasn't?
2 years ago, I kind of had hope he'd be impeached, right? That was like a thing I wanted. Now that they actually have him on impeachable offenses, I'm like, yeah, but these aren't the offenses I'm looking for, right? Like, let's assume that he's guilty of what he's being accused of. If people don't know, here's the scoop. He fucked a porn star and a playmate, if that's a porn star, I'm not sure. Raw dogging it while his wife's at home taking care of his new baby. Yeah,
close enough to porn star.
And then he paid hush money to at least one of them. Both of them received their hush money. He might have not paid the Empire. What the fuck is that newspaper called? The Inquirer. He may have not paid them, but anyway. In either case, it's an in-kind campaign donation or some sort of illegal, unreported campaign expenditure.
FEC violation.
It's a felony. It's an FEC violation. But I'm like, man, if you get this guy on this, then a third of our nation is going to think it was a coup. They're going to feel like this was not an impeachable offense. Where are you on this?
I said this exact thing. Like, actually, I think it was when Comey got fired quite a while ago. And I said, man, you know what would suck is if Trump ended up having impeachable charges brought against him, but it actually wasn't for anything to do with Russian collusion. How interesting would that be? I thought about that. It's very...
Yeah, like Nixon got impeached, and apparently it was on the cover-up, right? He got impeached for obstructing justice, essentially, I think. And, Trump's done, I think, that too.
At least, yeah.
But... if Trump's to get impeached, I want it because they really have solid evidence of him and an enemy working to get him elected, like a Manchurian candidate kind of thing. I want it to be because, he's been favorable towards Trump and like delaying the sanctions that the House and the Senate passed because they're doing something. There's a quid pro quo type deal in there. I don't want it to be because he was hiding the fact that he raw dogs porn stars while his wife's at home with the baby. Yeah,
for sure. What did Clinton get impeached for, right? although he
Yeah,
wasn't removed
there's like
from.
technically no
censored.
such thing as an impeachable offense, right? Like they
It's
could
just charges brought.
Yeah, it's
they
just
can
charges.
decide.
High
Like,
crimes
it
and
could be
misdemeanors, I guess.
Yeah.
That's nearly. Is
But I
that
mean-
everything.
it could be any from
Yeah.
Yeah.
from like he's
How
a
fast were you going?
loiterer. Yeah.
treason to jaywalking.
Dude, if he got impeached for loitering, even I'd be on board. You'd be like, look at him, look how long he stood at that tee box on that golf course and made those people wait.
It's one
I
of those
wouldn't be on
things
board
where
for
like
that, silly.
the investigation has sprawled out so much that I'm just not assuming anything until shit gets filed. Like, I feel like every time new shit drops, it's just like unbelievable. Like the shit that Manafort is getting destroyed for, everything going on with fucking Cohen, like holy shit. Like all of the, if you read any of the indictments with the Russian agencies that were operating in the U.S. for election related shit, that Internet Research Agency, if you read the how the investigation laid out the entire spear phishing hack from the Russian ordered basically from the Kremlin to the DNC server and everything, like, man, there is just so much. I'm just waiting for like the fucking dust to settle, because at this point, like, we've worked our way up so much of Trump's staff, and now we've got like so many rumors have been dropping that Trump Jr. is getting an indictment soon, and he's in fucking Canada hiding from that. Like, Jesus. Yeah, I'm just, who knows like where things will end up.
I wanna-
Damn.
yeah,
Hide in
that's what I-
Canada?
Yeah.
Like they really?
well, I mean,
Not if you're
Well,
Chinese.
when I say hiding in Canada, I think it's mainly to avoid like media and shit. Is like the
Oh,
main, but
yeah.
he's
Yeah,
not going to
essentially,
actually like avoid U.S. justice. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm waiting for the dust to settle. I want to see what actually happens. Trump seems like the kind of guy who's sort of insulated himself in a lot of ways. We'll see. What matters to me is like, let's see what can be proven that Trump did, what he knew and when he knew it, et cetera, and what can he actually be charged with, and then what does Congress do about that, and what are the ramifications? I think before we know any of that, it's just like, we're just, because every day I read like I saw an article yesterday. Trump will spend the rest of his life in prison, and I'm like, I don't know about that one. Probably not.
I think
Probably
this
not.
thing is happening. He only has 2 years left, I think. Right? I think he's not getting reelected.
Oh, he'll get reelected unless they stop him with these investigations.
It's
No,
gonna
dude, if he
depend
doesn't
on-
do anything about the border situation, which is what most of his base really cares about, and he's prioritized like tax cuts that overwhelmingly, it helps people in the middle class a tiny bit, but not anything compared to giant corporations like that. They got the huge cut, and people who make most of their money off financial speculation. But if he doesn't do something about the border, like he's gonna get walloped in 2020 if he just the border becomes nothing, and he's just keeps
really
being a big bloviating, talk big, do nothing kind of guy.
Well, I mean, that's what populists always are. Is populists will always come and promise you the world. They say that the entire system is corrupt and they're going to come in and change everything. But then what you find out is that they have no political power and they can't. But what it's going to come down to, I think, is world events. Like that 2013 Syrian war drew the entire world west so much, or right, so much more than they were before. Where all of these parties, AfD in Germany, these radical parties in Sweden, the more right-leaning people in the United Kingdom, like all of these parties are getting more support because this immigration, this refugee crisis and shit is pushing people, into these anti-immigration sentiments. If we get like a real big terrorist attack or some shit, this is the type of stuff that empowers populists, or especially totalitarians, right? Like you need a strong leader to respond effectively and quickly to these terrorist activities, and the only way to do that is to elect a strong, usually male figure that can do it. But like if things continue to be okay and the economy is kind of going, or well, at least the markets are kind of slumping right now, and there's no big terrorist attacks, and like Taylor said, Trump can't deliver on the wall or get any of his promises through, then I could see like a Democrat president stepping in. We already saw like a big fuck you in the House.
Oh yeah,
It's not over yet.
If he doesn't do anything with the border, it's not just going to be a little win or a little loss. Like he's going to get hammered.
I think he's going to
disagree.
get smashed, and I think it's going to be because, again, you can't time the market, but market's already down for the year, right? There's 2 weeks left, and the market's down. Like it needs.
We're so overdue for a recession.
Yeah, it's not necessarily Trump's fault, right? He did the tax cut, but
he took credit for the gains, so he's going to get credit for the losses. He was the one coming in saying the markets are going up.
He will not be taking credit for the losses, and
Well,
his
he will,
sycophants
whether
will
he
blame
wants to or
someone
not.
else. He'll be blaming
sure.
the Fed. He'll be blaming the Democrats who got elected. Go ahead.
No,
Taylor.
now this is when Obama's economy starts.
I don't know.
Exactly right. But I think he's going to
the
have a
issue
hard
is-
time talking about how great the economy is, or maybe not. I keep flipping
No.
on this, and I'll tell
No,
you why.
he's going to
he
win.
can
I
say
don't get it.
anything, and his
And people
supporters
believe him.
believe it. Right? And
He's going to win.
I wrote on the Facebook today with one of my flat Earth Republicans who believe anything. I'm like, Trump should just say he built the wall. I stole it from Reddit. Just tell your people they believe everything you say, and it'll save billions of dollars. Just say the wall's done.
He's going
Well,
to
wait,
win for a few reasons. For one thing, the Democrats don't have anyone to challenge him, really. Is it going to be Biden? How old is Biden?
We've got like a year left to see Democratic candidates.
Yeah, we do. Right now, like I saw some of the ladies who are front runners. Oprah's one of them.
Oprah is not a front runner. No.
Michelle Obama. These are some of the ladies that are being put forward.
No, yeah, it's gonna be like a Beto guy or whatever. Like it's gonna be. Yeah, it's not gonna be.
And Beto was the third. Yeah, that was the third. That was the third name that was put forward today. I
think they might have good luck with like Tulsi Gabbard or Kamala Harris.
Oh,
there's a difference.
Yeah, put
there's
Tulsi in there. That'll go well. Bernie Sanders is still going to be in this mix. Bernie is still going to be playing. What do you call it? He's still going to be like muddying the waters for the Democrats and pulling them far more left than they want to be. While Trump is up there able to say anything and everything he wants. I agree with Woody, and people will just believe it. Trump's going to win. He's going to. Unless they find him guilty of a crime and actually impeach him, or they prove that he somehow, even if they don't impeach him, but they prove that he did something really dirty with the Russians. Like that's the only way he doesn't become president in 2020.
I feel like people forget this, but Trump.
So early to tell.
Trump barely won in 2016. Now, a lot of people like to, I don't know, think that it was unprecedented or uncalled for. He had like a 25-30% chance of winning an election. He barely won, and he won it against the worst Democratic candidate possible. Yeah. Hillary Clinton had so many skeletons in her closet. We had how many fucking hearings on Benghazi? We got how many little fucking drips from our little soy boy Assange about fucking emails or some shit, which nothing ever came of. We got so much shit. And even with all of that, Trump won by like a five-figure like vote thing. It was like 30 or 40,000 of the right votes were in the right spots for him to win. I really, without things going dramatically differently, I just can't see Trump. And I know I hate him. I'm not trying to be biased, but like unless the Democrats really fuck up their candidate pick, like, as long as they pick somebody reasonable, I just can't see Trump doing it. Like, even the own Republican Party is divided against him like crazy.
They'll solidify for this election. And what's going to happen is that the Democrats are going to have what the Republicans had last cycle around. They're going to have 15 or 20 candidates who are going to rip each other apart and go back and forth for months. And Bernie Sanders is going to be way to the left, and some of the more the self-described socialists are going to be way to the left. And then you're going to have guys... You're gonna maybe have Biden in there. I feel like that's their all-star, even though he's very
way too
old.
fucking old.
Beto is.
I think Biden. I think Biden brings Obama big time. Obama will ride on a bus with Biden anywhere he wants to go. I feel like, and Obama is definitely the best tool that the Democrats have in their box.
Keep in mind,
renowned Hispanic.
Keep in mind that Hillary and Obama tore each other's throats out too, but I mean, McCain came up there and got absolutely fucking crushed anyway. Like, and Hillary,
but it was just the two of them, and
it was brutal though. They really went at each other. I honest to God think McCain could have won if that Palin shit didn't come.
I was about to say
fucking
the only reason McCain lost is because he picked Sarah fucking Palin, the dumbest woman in Alaska.
McCain was terrible, and he especially got smashed when the financial crisis got bad. He did some grandstanding. He canceled his thing. He went and he acted like he was fixing the financial crisis as a senator leading into it.
And he was hawkish for all the wars, but that by that point had gotten pretty unpopular.
No, McCain was one of the only people that was against things like enhanced interrogation and whatnot. He stood against his party on that because he'd actually been like brutally fucking tortured by the Vietnam.
Oh, the torture thing, yeah, but he was really interventionist in the Middle East. Like he wanted us to go over there and fuck up.
I mean, to be fair, literally everybody is interventionist in the United States. Democrats and Republicans alike are insanely interventionist, regardless of
that's the most annoying thing about this dichotomy of parties is like no matter where you go, like it's like, oh, okay, so the voice of let's get the fuck out of these places we don't need to be is never to be found.
That's
it's always
true.
like,
Taylor
I'm
and
very
Rand Paul.
conservative / very liberal, but we still got to go in there and spend 15 years and countless lives of ours and other people. And it's like, Jesus
Taylor,
fuck.
Please get it through your head. That person we're attacking is a madman.
He's a madman.
Yeah.
He's a total madman.
Always
we were friends with him
madman.
10 years ago, but that was before he went mad.
Now
Wait, are we talking about Gaddafi? Are we talking about Saddam Hussein? Are we talking
literally
which one are we
all of them.
what are we talking about?
Yeah, right.
He's been sitting around eating paint chips the last few years, apparently. He's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
A paint chip dig. I like it.
Yeah. It really is like, there's no point in even speculating on it because
anything could happen.
Before you know, like you were saying, Kyle, you think they might line up 15 of them on the Democrat side?
They will.
think they might do what they did last time and like cull it down before that, like in these last 2 years of his presidency, and try and be like, okay, Beto, he didn't go through. Okay, no more for him. Okay, Kamala Harris is testing really high. Like,
No, I don't think so. I think that they are going to be afraid of what happened last time. In essence, they got called. They were like, you're being a kingmaker. You're pushing Hillary Clinton and ignoring all of these other worthy candidates. They don't want that stigma on them again. So they're going to be like, anybody who thinks they could do this job, just stand up, step forward, approach the podium. We've got 87 microphones. Yep. All right, everybody, well, make the stage bigger. It's going to be a lot of candidates.
I'm running. I'm going to have to private the previous 416 PKAs.
And say what you want. You can say what you want about. You can say what you want about that buffoon we have in the White House. But nobody draws a crowd like he does. You could take every Democrat that
Trump doesn't draw a crowd.
Bernie
like
draws
Trump
a crowd,
did.
but not as big as Trump's.
I don't know. Those Bernie fucking rallies and shit were insane. Populism works even when it's on the left, and Bernie is a left-leaning populist. Like
absolutely, I agree with you 100%. But like I'm telling you, I went to one of those Trump rallies. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The people
not anymore. It's not like it was.
It absolutely is. You're going to see
these. I would never go to one because it seems like a waste to go to any political thing. But these things are enormous.
Even the ones he just had for the congressional election cycle, he was putting 10,000 people in a building and then thousands more outside watching on jumbotrons just because he's in Kansas and Indiana and like boondock nowhere. Like I'm telling you, Hickory, North Carolina. Do you even know where that is?
I've been there.
I have too once, and there were thousands of us in that auditorium. There were thousands more outside. There were 30 protesters there.
Obama filled 80,000 person stadiums.
When?
To be fair, he was the first black president too, right? That was like a historic.
Right. There was also a football game.
No, that's what
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to like Michigan State and just like make all of my campaign like posters their team colors and like green screen myself into.
You're probably wondering why I asked you all to come here.
Welcome to Super Bowl 52.
I'm like waiting to make points. It's like, and that's why we're gonna put this country. Oh, they got stopped at the 1. I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, we're gonna put this country back to work.
Donald Trump drew a crowd of 57 million last night for his first campaign rally at Super Bowl 52.
Now, what I actually think is going to sink Trump, and this is just timing guessing, is the economy will be hard to call good. Right? Already, the stock market kind of sucks. It's down this year, flat but down. But the employment numbers. He's not going to be getting 150,000 jobs a month, 250,000 jobs a month in 2019 and 20, and it won't be his fault. But that's the only thing he has going for him.
Yeah, we're like at the peak.
Yeah.
Like we're overdue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll all depend on what happens. I mean,
I don't know anything about job numbers. I don't think anyone could forecast that stuff. If they could, like our economy wouldn't go in these dips and dives like it does every 4 to 8 years. But I'm just saying, I just don't think the Democrats can muster up a decent enough candidate. I think Trump is a great attacker. And there aren't very many good counterpunchers on the left. Like that's what you need. And you have to counterpunch, but not hit it. He's like a tar baby, right? You hit him too hard, you get shit. Oh shit! He's got me. He's sucking me in.
Kyle, you don't look very presidential while you counterattack Trump.
Exactly. Right? Did you just suggest that Mr. Trump's penis wasn't as big as yours? Yeah, you're gonna be our choice, please. but he literally said my dad was a serial killer.
That would be so fucking funny if like Bernie started. Well, first of all, they're not gonna let Bernie do it again. They already shut him down once. But like if he came out there and like sank to Trump's level and like started bragging about his dick, Bernie's like, actually, even though I am in favor of redistribution, if we could redistribute my cock to all the rest of you and up the average. That's how much meat I'm working with here. That's why I ride the bus. There's not enough room. My cock's just hanging out. Everything. I don't have a stiff leg. I'm a healthy New York Jew, Vermont Jew. But this cock, my God.
All of the Trump tweets work like campaigning against him. Like the ads write themselves.
The challenge with it though is that he doesn't get penalized for lying. And there's, I mean, I feel like liberal is on this side. Like they conservatives just make up random bullshit, and then it's on the liberal to like run to Wikipedia or fact check it or Google it or whatever. And that
and
happens.
it's shit too.
It
feels bad. Even when you come in with facts. I watched at Politicon. Do you know who Charlie Kirk is?
No.
Charlie Kirk debated a guy called Sam Cedar. I think Sam Cedar is a very intelligent guy. I enjoy watching him. I think Charlie Kirk is a massive piece of shit. One of the big people behind like the PragerU website. I don't know if you've ever seen this god awful fucking website. But like Sam Cedar, has facts, and he's like, like you talk about the stock market making gains. Well, 86% of the stock market is owned by wealthy people in the United States. This is known. And Charlie Kirk turns to him and he's like, well, actually, the reason why it seems like 86% is owned by the wealthiest is because they're actually managing that as like 401ks and pensions for everybody else. And it's like, I know the study of this comes, but that's not true. That's just totally fucking fake. But Sam Cedar's kind of there like scratching his head and he's like, well, fuck, I thought I had this fact. And Charlie Kirk just totally dismantles it and with something that's totally not true. And it's like, what the fuck? This is so painful to watch.
Happens all the time. I was watching Pelosi and Schumer. Like Trump is out there. He's got a card with all these stats on how amazing his border is holding up or something. Then he's saying we need to do more border, which kind of countered his own argument. And then he goes on there and he was bragging about the Senate and something else. I just lost it. But they were just like what you're saying. Like you came here, and the things you're saying don't pass fact check.
Yeah, like not even basic fact. It's not like a complicated thing, but you're just like telling basic lies. Like I had one of the largest electoral wins like of any Republican. And I was like, no, but you didn't. We can all look this up. Like it's not.
It's frustrating that like being inaccurate has no penalty for Trump. And whoever runs against him is going to have to somehow solve that puzzle if they want to win.
It's really painful if you look up like I always challenge this because obviously when I talk about this I get a lot of angry Trump fans in my chat. I always say like, can you guys link me a single video where Trump is talking and he sounds actually intelligent and well informed on the issue he's talking about? No one has been able to do this.
No.
And I always go back and it's like you look
I can
at
forward you 1,000 videos of him being hilarious.
Yeah, unintentionally usually, but yeah. Did you see the one where he thinks I'm like 85% sure that he thinks that stealth planes are actually like the invisible plane from Wonder Woman?
God,
I've always resisted that one. I've always resisted that he thinks they're invisible to the eye.
I know you say that, and when I first heard it too, it was my immediate reaction was, "Come on, guys! Like Trump doesn't think this. You're taking something out of context." But man, when you watch the videos, and he's like, our planes can be right by these other guys, and they can't see them because they're invisible. I'm like, I don't actually know. I can't tell if he's trolling or not. Like I don't know what he thinks.
My wife dislikes Trump, and she gets frustrated by like every issue of the day. And I'm always like, no, save your outrage for the important ones. The ones where he's actually doing something that matters to America. Sometimes people get mad at, I don't know, dumb misstatements. Oh, his dentures will come out and he'll pronounce something improperly. You know what?
Sure.
I'll let that go.
Or maybe he'll walk off the stage when the prime minister of whatever country is trying to get him to stay, and he's like just wandering.
Sure. I actually think it's a low energy thing. Like he has these issues. I know, right? But
needs that TRT. We're bringing it full circle.
I want to get Trump on TRT.
Put him on a plane, mess up his time zone by like 7 hours, ask him to work these long days, and he just gets like frustrated, and he's like, "Fuck it, why am I standing on stage here exactly?"
Trump is talking about putting Chris Christie in as White House chief of staff.
Oh my God!
I'll tell you what, you put me in charge of Trump's campaign, I get him reelected, no problem. Two things. First, get him off of.
First, you need a pardon.
Yes.
Or three things.
First, like a pardon. Second of all, now we'll get you elected, Mr. President. I'm going to need you. Forget about foreign policy. Forget about domestic policy. Mr. Pence is going to be handling that for the next 2 years. You, sir, are going to be working out. We're putting you on TRT, and you're going to pump some fucking iron. When you show up, and you're gonna pull that.
I just
power
feel so
move.
young and feel like
He's gonna pull the power move.
Pussy, even if they.
He's gonna pull the power move when he comes out to the debate stage. He'll hide the bod for a while, and then there'll be a big reveal when he throws the suit jacket off on stage, and the shirt is tight, and you can see pecs, and you can see the ripple of abs, and he's got that. Fucking under my tutelage. All right, we're bringing Stallone in.
Listen,
all right?
what you need is one large taco meal a day. Taco Bell meal a day.
Just Stallone in to help. Well, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to make sure you eat.
All right, Trump. We're bringing in a sex swing.
I'm telling
it's not for sex. You got to hang on it and shit.
No, you get him pumped up so he is virile, vigorous, and potent. when he shows up on the debate stage. So any fucking lily-livered Democrat they throw up there looks like a man boy next to him. That's right. When he steps out, it's clear who the alpha male is. Like, he's literally muscular and frightening when he gets on stage. No more double chin for this guy. All right, that's step one. And he's got 2 years to accomplish it. He could do it. Mike Pence handles everything else. Step two.
No more non-teleprompter speeches, or
he legalized. I'm in his ear in an earbud because I got good quits. All right, I watched those debates, and the whole time I'm like, he should have said this. It would have killed. Legalize marijuana, and then it's GG. It's GG. It's over. You legalize marijuana. You suck enough of those Bernie bros away. You suck enough of those independents over to the right. You pull. And you've got it, because nobody on the right cares anymore. Nobody on the right gives a shit anymore. If he were to do it, he wouldn't lose a single vote from his base. He would only gain millions more from the left.
True. You know what would help a left candidate do really well? Like guns.
Guns a lot.
Yeah.
That was one of Bernie's strongest selling points, being from fucking Vermont. Bernie had a really reasonable stance on guns.
Wishy-washy
he had
compared to Hillary, who literally wanted to make it so you could sue fucking gun manufacturers for a Democrat. For a Democrat, Bernie had a really reasonable stance on guns. I was really happy with that.
I don't know. I've said it for ages. The Republicans shot themselves in the foot by being anti-gay forever. Like, do you even give a fuck about this? Like, all it does is hurt you.
Anymore.
There are some issues that you need to fuck off from. You just don't talk about them here. Democrats need to get a better stance on guns. I'm okay with still fighting over, but you got to get a better. None of this. First of all, don't put a fucking person up there that doesn't know what the fuck a gun is. If you've never handled a gun before, okay, shut the fuck up and don't talk about them. When you get up there talking about assault carbine rifles with your 72 clips, shut the fuck up. Like, you sound so stupid. Firstly, okay, and then and then for the Republicans, okay, I don't know why I'm saying this. I hope they don't listen to me. Stop fucking talking about abortion, okay? Stop trying to fight against abortion. You're killing yourselves with this issue. Like,
you're killing babies.
There's no evangelical that's going to vote for a fucking Democrat. Yeah, there's no evangelical that's going to suddenly start voting Democrat because you're not talking about abortion. Like, just stop fucking talking about abortion.
Shit.
Just leave it alone.
Right. They're losing issues.
It's such a dumb issue. Stop it.
When I'm in the inner circle, Woody, I'm using that one for Mr. Trump. He's going to love that. Got no problem with abortion. Think about it this way, people. Only liberal babies are being killed. One less liberal baby is a good thing in my eyes. I say I am putting new funding forward for Planned Parenthood. I am giving them $1 trillion. With this new influx of cash, by the year 2040, there will be no more liberals. I am introducing a new late-term abortion law up to 12 years.
Right? It's Planned Parenthood on the corner of every New York City and San Francisco block.
Bring your 12-year-old piece of shit kid in here. They use one of those cattle guns.
Does your 9-year-old think it's transgender?
Then, 10 years
it's not too late for
Wait. Is the 12-year-old having an abortion, or are we aborting the 12-year-old?
We're aborting the 12-year-old. Yeah, you missed that part. That's an extreme late-term abortion. All the way up to the
37th trimester.
37th trimester. And we just recycle their weak soy boy bodies into some sort of a green paste that we just feed back to the liberals. They'll think it's health food.
You know, you're selling me.
Trump 2020.
It really does bother me how much responsibility we ask an 18-year-old to take on financially.
And often
does it bother you that when they join up for the military?
Oh, yeah. And can't drink? Yeah.
Yeah, especially that when they can't drink.
They can drink on base.
On base?
Wait, an 18-year-old can?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that...
we looked that up.
Wait. Is it outside of the U.S.? Is that how it works? Or
No, let me double check on
I
Google.
didn't know
right
this.
here. We can check it out.
Yeah, we talked about that before, but I thought we got fact-checked on that or something. I had it in my head that there's definitely somewhere where 18-year-olds can drink on base.
So looking at this, I just real quick Google. In the old days, anyone on active duty could consume alcohol on military installations regardless of the legal drinking age off base. But the new federal code, United States Code Title 10, Section 2683, requires military installation commanders to adopt the same drinking age as the state where the military base is located.
Yep, I'm finding the same thing. So it looks like I'm out of date. And overseas, 18, here, 21. Huh.
Yeah, you definitely want to serve in Europe, right? Get one of those nice bases over there where
even if you can, like they're not letting them get like tanked and go out on the town or anything.
Oh, it's probably that fucking.
That's probably
Mormon
exactly
fear.
what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Okay,
Like,
well then, all right. Well, I'm gonna join the military.
If I'm stationed in Germany,
so I can drink.
we're not going out responsibly drinking. Like, that's not what's happening.
Do they let you smoke pot if you're like stationed in Amsterdam?
No, there's
doubt
no
it.
way that happens.
Yeah,
no.
I for whatever, the paramotor community and the active duty army overlap some, and those guys do not smoke pot. Yeah, they're like they take that seriously. I guess they're tested. I made that part up, but
their lives are in their hands. You know, that'd be like a race car driver. Like, meanwhile, you go to something like paintball, and they're all stoned. Everybody's stoned.
It is so, the whole everything about drugs is so fucking weird to me that I go to California now and it's still weird to me. And I will be on the street and some dude will just be fucking smoking a blunt, like right fucking there. Cops are driving by and he's smoking and everything. And all I'm thinking is like, if I were to go into a store and buy a beer and crack it open right here, I would get fucking fined for it. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, because you might get violent. He might get hungry.
He's just smoking fat doinks.
Yeah, that's
like
so
he's
bizarre to me. Oh, all of our drug shit in the U.S. is so mind-boggling. Jesus Christ.
What are the drugs that shouldn't be legal? If you were to draw a line, I would say crocodile, that one that fucks up all those Russians with the bones in their arms. That's like for me, that's the equivalent of like when my grandma, like she in college, like you know how older people will see something like on the news and they'll be like, now, Taylor, you need to be careful because I saw something about bath salts online and how kids are doing them in school and eating each other's faces. And it's like, that's not a thing that's happening, but they thought it was. That's what I think crocodile's got to be. There's got to be like a dozen people over there with that. And we here just think it's like a huge Russian thing. But yeah, crocodile, meth, crack.
No.
Here's a question.
The only drugs that should be illegal are the ones like crocodile that actually instantly do harm to you. The ones that require abuse to be harmful should be legal, I think. All of the drugs should be legal.
Let's say there's a drug that you could take that if you started it in your 20s, there is a very fucking high chance that like into your 30s or 40s, you're going to suffer from brain problems that will lead to like early dementia and personality changes,
like
fucking up your memory.
Sugar.
What? If there was a drug like this, I feel like most people would say that like these types of drugs should definitely be illegal. But if we compare the effects of this to like CTE and we look at like footballers, well, we let people play in the NFL and they're allowed to make those decisions, and it's like pretty well shown. I think in some study it was like 110 out of 111 brains examined had like fucking problems with these horrible like brain shit from all the impacts or whatever. And we let people make those types of decisions, and that's pretty well studied. So it seems weird that
an argument that I was like kind of compelled by. I hadn't considered like because like eventually socialized medicine is going to happen. Like that's the way of the future. It's going to happen here.
Hopefully.
Like it's going to. And like from that perspective, it's like, do we want people doing something that in their 40s say is going to cause early onset Alzheimer's or something? And that's a huge
can't.
amount of spend.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was saying. Because then it would get to obesity. Then it would get to smoking. Then it would get to all these other things.
All right.
And I was like,
it could get to driving.
Yeah, it could get any high risk. Oh, you're a rock climber and you don't use
And what is the punishment, right? If you find out that this person has smoked cigarettes, or if they test positive for nicotine, God forbid, like, oh, shit. Well, no heart transplant for you. You're not on the list. You smoked a cigarette? Mm-hmm. Please, absolutely not. No, everything should be legal. It's about personal responsibility, personal choice. It's your body. It's not the government's body, and it's not Taylor's body. It's not Woody's body. It's Kyle's body, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be up to anyone it shouldn't be up to anyone but you what you do with your body, and that includes castrating yourself or deciding you want to be a cyclops. That includes splitting your tongue, that bifurcation thing going on, and that also includes smoking methamphetamine and shooting heroin.
In a socialized medicine
it's not the body autonomy thing. Yeah, the body autonomy thing isn't troubling.
Like you can do anything you want, but it seems like I'm not responsible for anything you want to do.
No, you are. You are if we're going to go full-on socialized medicine, because where do we draw the line? Do we draw it at fatty foods? How much cholesterol am I allowed per week?
See, because that's the real thing, is if they were going by truly expensive shit, obesity would be number one.
No, it wouldn't. Paramotoring would be number one. There's no way that I am paying for Woody's health care when he chose to fly around in a lawn chair for fun. Like, I would much rather be responsible for the health care of a heroin abuser than for Woody, right? You tell me, all right, you got two options. You've got this 23-year-old young lady who shoots up twice a month when it's raining, or you have this 44-year-old man from North Carolina who has chosen to fly at 5,000 feet in a lawn chair. whose healthcare would you prefer to be responsible for? I'd be like, well, neither, but
I would take mine.
does she use fresh needles?
I don't know. She's taking 2 now. She'll, when you said 2 a month when it rains, soon it'll be 4, right?
Yeah.
Heroin users are not
you're
known
flying
for their
once a
restraint.
week right now, and you're using a regular
I
wing,
fly more
right?
than once a
Next,
week.
it's going to be an acrobatic wing.
I'm already there.
Exactly, right? It's ramping up. Now you're pulling chutes at 70 feet. Next year it'll be 50 feet, right? You want a different color T-shirt next year. Like you got the 70 foot
colors already.
There you go.
You're
gonna
shockingly
want the
accurate with this.
You're going to want the black T-shirt with the cross and skull on it for the people who pull it 15 feet.
Yeah, that you can't. You just can't set a limit.
You
There's
think
no
the
fucking
heroin
way. If you
user's
do,
not going to escalate.
I don't think it's that. I think when heroin goes bad, those people die. It's not that they have like long-term health issues unless they get something from like a dirty needle that's like one of those diseases requires like continued
in
care.
and out of rehab. They're gonna get like measles or
hey,
something.
Hey, I didn't say we're
what
paying
if you
for
could?
rehab.
What if you could demonstrate? What if you could demonstrate the
I don't
cost there? I'm willing to bet that type 2 diabetes is almost for sure more expensive when you take it factor in like the cost of insulin and shit than like a heroin user.
We were hitting sugar next, buddy.
Yeah.
Sugar's coming around next.
Oh, yeah.
Obesity would be number 1 by a long shot before any drug.
Yeah.
Cigarettes would be high.
I bet it would be like obesity, cigarettes.
Cigarettes bring in the heart disease, the lung cancer.
I was going to say alcohol next. Maybe?
Alcohol's high because of there's multiple factors with alcohol. There's the driving accidents and the things that come along with all of that and all of the ways that you're liable and culpable if you do virtually anything naughty while you're under the influence of alcohol. But of course, there's the long-term health issues that come along with enjoying yourself a nice beverage every night or 15 times a day, depending on who you are. Yeah, just no. Socialized medicine, if it's going to work, it's going to have to be, I don't care what you did to yourself. I don't care what you're doing to yourself. It's covered. Get in here. It needs to be Star Trek. I've always said, like, Star Trek is the perfect system. We just haven't evolved to the point where we're Star Trek people and like everybody's working for free.
As soon as we can create matter out of nothing.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the replicator that's the key to the Star Trek economy.
As soon as scarcity is no longer a problem.
Well, you need energy to power the replicator, right? It's not a complete scarcity-free economy, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm just joking mostly about the Star Trek thing, but healthcare in any sense, it's going to have to be free for everyone, and it's going to have to not matter what you did to yourself because you can't turn people away. We don't turn people away now, right? People who aren't insured, they don't
for
in
emergencies.
ER.
We don't.
Yeah, well, of course, if it's something
you have
chronic.
to wait until it becomes an emergency.
Yeah.
And then you get fucked financially for the rest of your life. So,
if you've got a better system, let me know.
You send your buddy Pablo in, he burns all those receipts up, and you're good to go. No one's harmed.
Yeah.
No one.
No one.
You know what? That would be like a funny copycat crime if somebody went and did that and removed like overdue book fees at a local library. And it was only like $85 of all these people. I don't know. That makes me laugh. Someone breaking into like a fucking library, sneaking around.
That kind of reminds me of that. I don't know. I think it's from a movie. It's where the guy is taking too long to finish his exam, and the professor's like, "Time's up. Time's up. Time's up." And the guy's just still doing his work. He finally comes up to the desk. Everyone else has already put theirs in this massive pile of exams, and he's like, "You know what? Time was up. That's a 0." He's like, "Do you even know who I am?" He's like, "No." Good. And he just throws them all in the air and just runs out like, whoop, 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 whoop. It's like, what, are you going to give everybody a 0? Every man a 0? Are you assuming my gender now, Professor? I don't think so.